You are the monster, and you're in my way at all times. Get back over here. Back over here where the cats belong. Cat corner. Right there. All right. Woo! Look who's ready. Some Saudi prince's dining room that threw up all over me, and the fat cat. He's ready. Monkey butt's asleep. What a day to take off yesterday. To not do a show. So an absolute trove of Epstein emails were released to the public yesterday, and it included lots of doozies. Among those doozies are many individuals from the New York Times, Trump's inner circle, billionaires, billionaire acolytes, their wives, all sorts of folks involved with Epstein, knowing full well what a dirty dog he was. A lot of shit talking about Trump in there, but a lot of admissions, such as that Trump was meeting with Epstein in the Trump Tower back in 2015, that they had Thanksgiving together in 2017, that they had a secret meeting with Prince Andrew while on an official visit to the UK in 2019. That folks like Steve Bannon were having deep communications with Epstein, all pre-arrest and post-arrest. It is particularly damning. Basically, it proved that Ghislaine Maxwell was lying about when she said that Trump had never visited any of the properties, because it was pretty evident that Trump had, and that Epstein was willing to provide photographs of Trump with girls while at his properties. Yeah. So, oops. On top of that, the House is back in session. The newest member from Arizona got signed in. First thing she did was sign the discharge petition, which now needs 7 days of House session before it's allowed to be released. The problem is that apparently they went into recess again today. So they only have 1 day of in session, and now they're in recess again. So Johnson is doing his damnedest to try and draw this thing out as long as possible. Also, the House is really pissed about all the writers that were put into the continuing resolution bill, which included the ability of senators involved in January 6th to sue the Justice Department for cash, for the Justice Department getting warrants to go through their emails and phones related to that. And no one likes this. It also killed the hemp industry in the U.S. Basically, people have stopped drinking alcohol because they're smoking too much weed. And the alcohol industry paid off a whole bunch of senators to put a rider in the bill to kill off hemp and marijuana so that people will go back to drinking, I guess. What else should I add? Hegseth gave a name to the operation to overthrow Venezuela. They're calling it Operation Southern Spear. You know, once it gets a name, it's on like Donkey Kong. So that's happening. And I don't know. We'll see. Oh, Michael Burry apparently got liquidated. So you stay sitting down Silent Asset Management. So his short play, I thought he was up on his short play against Palantir and Nvidia, but I guess he's closing the whole thing. I don't know what's going on fully with that. And Bill Pulte's dad was involved with Epstein. We knew that he was part of the bidding process for that estate that was eventually sold to with Abramovich, the Russian mafia guy that's connected to Putin. Well, Trump bought it, and then supposedly Trump and Epstein broke up over that real estate deal, but they were back together again by 2015. I don't know. And then Trump sold it to the Russian mob to pay off his Trump Chicago debt that he had. And Bill Pulte's dad was also one of the bidders in that, and kind of in their circle. It's also pretty amazing just how illiterate Epstein was. The dude never went to college. He somehow became a private school physics teacher without any credentials for whatsoever. A famous picture of him in that school's yearbook shows that he doesn't even know how to spell his own name. because he's like picture of him like with his name Epstein written on the blackboard, but it's spelled wrong. He writes like a third grader on an old text phone, old like 9-key text phone. So 10 key, I guess it is. Yeah. So shiny shirt week, day 6. It is super shiny. This is definitely among the shiniest of the shiny shirts. I am as hideous as the Oval Office is right now. So I'm like Bizarro Oval Office. Okay. Should I click the thing, cat? Should I click the thing? How about right there? Bam.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Okay. Turn it off. Turn it off. Ooh, the other daytime one was on. Turn that one off too. Haha, not getting me this time, suckers. Okay, what do you got for me? I'm Michael O'Hara, Houston. Which happens first, Moas or Trump being outed as Epstein pedo? I think Trump has already been outed as Epstein pedo. So that happened first. Acadian first? No, you're second. Mr. Filth? Second? No, you are third. This is Illegal 525. Guess I'm coming in with a blue ribbon. PBR it is. The Tetons are calling your name for a ski trip. I would like to go to the Tetons. The Grand Tetons. Which is, I mean, most people don't, it doesn't occur to them what that means. You know, basically saying the big tits is what the Grand Tetons mean. Big boobies. The big boobies. I'm going to go ski the slopes of the big boobies. Head out to Jackson Hole and ski some booby powder. GDC, 4th. Shout out GDC squad. Gonna read 7665. Happy birthday, HW. White House says October jobs and inflation data may never be released. So it was that bad, huh? Gonna be a tough decision for the Fed to make rate cut or not without the data. Not only to say that the data may not be released, but that the Bureau of Labor Statistics may be permanently broken. Remember, they fired the head of Bureau of Labor Statistics and never got anybody officially in to run the place. And now data is not being collected because the government shut down. Yeah, we're just going to absolutely vaporize the economy and not give anybody any warning as to when it's happening. So we're gonna have to like look for other things, which is the fact that tens of thousands of people a week are being laid off right now. That's probably a good indicator. Gemini is Trump lied. Must be a day that ends in a Y. Yeah. Polestar says yo. Oriana Mosca. Did you hear about the sniper tourism in 1990 in Sarajevo? We live in a sick world. I didn't hear about the tourism. I know about the snipers. My old roommate, he was from Croatia, and his mom got to watch, I think, one of her friends get vaporized. They invited her over for tea. She came over, and while her friend was fixing the tea, a sniper just through the window. Whop! And that was that. Yeah, I remember seeing a 60-minute story in Sarajevo, like Bosnia and Herzegovina, where the snipers would be up on the hillsides outside of town, and anyone who was crossing between buildings just get picked off. Didn't matter who it was, who they're affiliated with, they just pick them off. And so, like, people had to like sprint between buildings as fast as they could, hoping to get there before the sniper could line up a shot. And you never walked in front of windows. Everyone's like crawling around in their living rooms and their apartments and stuff. Absolutely brutal. But tourism, like people going there to just zip zop others as if they're a big game hunter or something, that's disgusting. So yeah, we do live in a sick world. Don Caesar Shadem throwing out a super chat. I'm listening in real time for once. Tell us about the volcanic activity at Yellowstone and RC. It's a waste of a sentience, just like Adam Aaron. CEOs suck. CEOs do suck. Last year, spring through summer through the election, I kept pointing out that Ryan Cohn is for Trump. Ken Griffin is for Trump. And if you are two enemies voting for the same guy who's going to make decisions as to which one of you survives, why would you do that? Like everything Ken Griffin does is diametrically opposed to your entire existence as a business operator and owner. So why would you agree on the man who would make that decision? Because in the end, that decision maker is going to go with the dude who's worth $25 to $50 billion and moves way more shares through dark pools and as a market maker than he is for, a small cap video game retailer. As simple as that. He's going to choose the money every single time. And now Trump had some meetings today with Ken Griffin, with a whole bunch of New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, market makers, broker dealers, big banks. They're all in the White House today, all just, planning how they're going to destroy the world. And I got so much pushback last year. I had people telling me that, no, Ken Griffin's one of the good guys now. No, he's fucking not. He's not one of the good guys. He's not. He never has been. He never will be. He's a psychopath. And he's going to pick the money over you. He's going to beat his wife with a, bedpost. He's a shit dude. And Ryan Cohen chose that side in the election and appears to still be choosing that side, as it were. Even though tariffs are ripping apart the ability to import things, which will eat into profits and destroy the economy and kill your little brick and mortar retailer. So yeah, CEOs suck. Anyway, volcanic activity at Yellowstone. I haven't heard any volcanic activity at Yellowstone. All I know is that there's been a tilt going on in the lake. Yellowstone volcanic activity. Levels currently normal. Volcano updates. There we go. Yellowstone caldera activity remains at background levels with 180 located earthquakes in October. Largest was 3.7. Deformation measurements indicate the annual summertime pause and long-term caldera subsidence has ended and subsidence has resumed. So it's not just tilting, but now the caldera itself starting to sink, which means the lava is cooling underneath it usually. Recent work news: amount eruptions, Steamboat Geyser, Norris Geyser, some activity. There are 4 swarms. Nothing too special about it. Most of the deformation is due to snow melt. Okay. Groundwater conditions. Word. Not inflation or deflation of the caldera itself. Or the magma chamber. Not too much going on with Yellowstone at this point. I guess we sit and wait for another 0 to 600,000 years before something cool happens. Jiga Shukla, is it possible Wall Street went to Trump for a bailout? Not sure why the market is so high. Yes, I think Wall Street did go to Trump for a bailout because that's the only way they're going to survive this whole thing. We have the end running of a whole bunch of tech stocks and companies. We have banks with cajillions of unrealized losses. We have 20% of Lennar Homes sales are now currently underwater. D.H. Horton is now going down to 0.99% mortgages, self-owner finance mortgages for buyers. The new home glut is insane. New homes are now below the price of existing homes. Delinquencies in mortgage-backed securities are at the highest they have ever been. So imagine 2008, the global economy collapses because of delinquencies in mortgage-backed securities. There is now more delinquencies in mortgage-backed securities today than there was then. So, yowza. Ship you real, man. So yeah, they're definitely going for bailouts. The market may be anticipating the ruling from the Supreme Court declaring that tariffs are illegal. The market will go green like nobody's business if that's the case, because that means hundreds of billions of dollars are going to go back to companies that paid those tariffs and to the folks who purchased those rights to those tariffs on the market. And then import prices are going to drop really fast. It'll be probably the best thing that can happen for the economy right now is the elimination of all those tariffs. I'm not sure we are going to get back to a space where people are going to want our exports again because we still pissed everyone off, and Trump will still probably try to figure out ways to piss off all of our trading partners. But yeah, that's probably why the market's doing a little green today. GDC, monkey needs a treat. $5 for spam, $5 against spam. Can this? Oh my god! I need to go punch somebody at. I need to turn this into Google Sheets because Excel does not work anymore. Paper. $5 for. $5 against. Stupid Excel. Oh crap. Alright, I'll set that sucker up. Put it in a sheet, Google Sheet. But thank you, GDC. Monkey needs a treat. She does need a treat. Yes, she does. Fat cat, you don't get one of these. The monkey butt does. Wow. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, now you're interested in a fat boy? You can't get it. You physically are not strong enough or large enough to chew through this. I can make you try. Want to try? Yeah, you're trying. It's not doing anything. It's like a rock for you. So monkey butt gets it. Nice try. Get back over here. Come on. Back over here. Come on. Back over there. Come on. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Want to get drugs? I'll give you drugs. That'll make you happy. All right. There. You can get you can't eat a treat, but you can snort all the kitty cocaine you want. There we go. All right. Drugs. Where was I? Michael Jo Tuyuo. 4 episodes and really gripping. Nick Offerman plays Chester A. Arthur, and it is so much fun. I have no idea what you're talking about. Nick Offerman plays Chester A. Arthur. I don't know. I'll have to look that up because I don't see. It's in live chat, so it's not as if it's been vanished. Oh, I forgot to put this one in multi-stream. Dang it, multi-stream. There we go. Chester A. Arthur. Polestar, can't wait till we can confirm all the gold in the White House that Trump shows off is just cheap Home Depot molding that is gold foil wrapped. That is exactly what it is. Or Trump is getting real gold with US dollars, putting on the walls, and when he leaves office, he's going to take it all with him. Those are the two options. Fake gold or his way of laundering a bunch of gold out of the White House. So, Purple Walnut, do you think there are still giant gold nuggets out there, or we got them all? Oh, there's a lot of giant gold nuggets out there. The largest nuggets ever found, well, I've been found recently. The biggest one in the U.S. was found in 2006, 2007. Due to the mine lab metal detector in Gold Country, Oregon. So let's pull up Google Earth. Bam. Scene. Bam. Google Earth. Boom. There we go. Oh, why is it showing you guys Excel, but I actually literally cannot get Excel to show up on my screen? Can't do it. It doesn't work. This is so stupid. All right, Google Earth. Excel. What? Excel, turn off. There we go. Okay. No, I said don't. I said turn off, not turn on. There we go. All right. So, Gold Country, Oregon. Out here in Grants Pass. This whole region of the Southern Cascades is known as Gold Country. In a valley, I'm not sure exactly which valley it is, but I think it's this guy over here. So a dude went up into the hillsides with his metal detector up like 1,000 feet above the hills and was metal detecting under tree roots. And he was figuring that, ancient, back in the day before it got, eroded down, that was the shorelines of the river. And he went metal detecting and he found, I think it was like a 270 ounce nugget, which is, like almost 20 pounds. Big guy. Up here under one of the trees. And had been deposited by, ancient river flow years and years and years and years and years ago. That's the largest one I know of, like, that's been found alluvial wise, not from like digging a lode mine into a mountain or whatever, but just like digging up the dirt and finding one. Australia's biggest gold nugget ever, I believe, was in Golden Triangle, which is north of Melbourne. So the Golden Triangle is basically this stuff up here, and it was on the order of like 157 pounds or something. It's ridiculous. Usually when you find really giant gold nuggets like that, the Gold Nugget Casino, well, several Gold Nugget casinos, the owners of the Gold Nugget Casino will pay top dollar for them, like beyond what the normal spot price is for gold, because it's a museum piece, and they will put it in their casinos. So if you do find yourself with like a 50-ounce or larger gold nugget, just sell it to the Gold Nugget Casino, because they will buy that large shit for more than it's worth. Speaking of Gold Country, Oregon. Okay, so you guys remember the show? What's the name of that stupid mining show? Monkey Butt. Not Gold Fever. That was the fun one. The ones on Discovery Channel for like the last 15 years. Why is my brain totally leaving myself here? Gold mining up in Alaska. What was the name of that show, Monkey? What was the name of that show? Gold mining show. Discovery Channel. Come on, Houston. Discovery Channel gold mining show. I can't remember the name. Gold Rush. Duh. Okay, so Gold Rush was a bunch of dudes that had a private airport, owned a private airport down here. And I can't remember if it was in Medford or Grants Pass. It was in one of these places here. And let's just do airport. Must have been Grants Pass Airport. I think it was Grants Pass. So they had, it was like a little private airport right here. So they owned this airport. And like the economy was in the dumps, and like people weren't doing any private flights, and they're like, oh, we're losing money in the airport. And so they sold their airport and then bought a gold claim in Alaska. Problem is that there's more gold here. There's more gold here than there is anywhere up in Alaska they went to go mine. This is literally called Gold Country. That is the name of the region, Gold Country, Oregon. And so they sold their airport. They bought a mine way up in the Tules in the Yukon. Way up here in the Yukon, part of Alaska. And they sunk a mine and couldn't find shit. I wrote the producers of the show, because it's just a bunch of fat guys breaking stuff and yelling at each other. And I wrote the producers back to Raw TV. I was like, hey, I have an idea for you. I will join your show. I will go to Grants Pass, Oregon, where they're from. I will go to a river or stream right by their house. We got rivers and streams all over the place here, right? Tons of gold in these rivers. I will go to river stream right by their house. I will mine more gold out of those streams by where they used to live, and I will nail all their wives and girlfriends in the process. If you want drama, like, come on, that's killer TV. I never heard back. So, yeah. Silly willies. But yeah, there's lots of gold nuggets to be found there. Really big gold nuggets were found in this area in Nevada. Okay. That would be Lovelock up here. This place here. Right in here. A lot of metal detecting going on here. Ancient hills rolled down. Huge nuggets were found in this place in the last 15 years. What was the name of this place? I think I tried to look this up once, and then I wasn't finding the name because I couldn't remember to save my life. Where's my Nevada map? Nevada map. This would be Pershing. Yeah, Pershing. So what page is that? What page is Pershing? Show me your page, Pershing. Pershing. Trust Mining District, Jessup Valley, Sand Springs, El Dorado, Gold Butte, Searchlight, Mount Siegel, Centennial, Charleston, Cornwall, Cope, Gold Circle, Island Mountain, Tuscarora, Van Duzer, Tule Canyon, Sylvania. Okay, that's all Esmeralda County. I don't want Esmeralda. I want freaking Lynn Placer, Sawtooth, Dutch Flat. Dutch Flat? No, not Dutch Flat. It's got a goofy name, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head. All right, Humboldt County, Jackson, Potosi, Winnemucca District. No. Gold Run, Purple Creek, Battle Mountain, Bullion, Hilltop, McCoy, other. Don't you guys like it? Watching a show, just watching a guy flip through a book trying to find the name of a stupid mining claim that he cannot find to save his life. Okay, this is other placer mine districts, other counties. Freiburg. I want Pershing, man. Give me Pershing. Hawthorne, Rawhide, Mining District, Bullfrog, Johnny Placer, Cloverdale, Union, Millet Twin, Manhattan, Round Mountain, Belmont, Eldon, Hidden Fairplay, Longstreet, Tonopah. No, I don't want Nye County. Coach, Antelope, Rights, Rosebud, Seven Troughs, Egress, Imlay, Unionville. Unionville's where Mark Twain lived. Spring Valley, Sierra Chaffee, Willow Creek, Gold Candy Mill, Star, Stags. No. Comstock, Carson. That's too far south. Ollinghouse, Bald Mountain, Osco, Snowstorm, Maggie Creek, Hilltop. My God, man. Okay. There's what I want. I think. So give me dumps. Give me Pershing. Elko, Eureka, Edinburgh, Lander, Mineral, Nye, Pershing. Oh, cool. Imlay? Humboldt? No, that sound right. Candy Mill, Placer Rice, Rochester. Oh, for Christ's sake. It might be Imlay, but I don't think it is. Oh, well. That's like 10 minutes of our lives that have just been spent with me just looking at a book. But yeah, lots of gold nuggets to be found. Oh, no, yeah, it's Imlay. So that must be it. Okay, Imlay. Yeah. This guy here. It's not too far south from everyone's, or I guess east from everyone's favorite AMC gold mine here. Lots. I mean, there's so much gold out here. If I need a new truck, and like, I don't know, a year's worth of living expenses, and I would just wander. Just going from hill to hill, just looking for shit with a metal detector and have fun. Let Monkey Butt run around and eat rattlesnakes or whatever. She's got 25% less legs rattlesnake can bite, so it's probably good for her, right? Right, dude? Not good for, like, getting out of the way, though. But less target area. Yeah. I would love it. Anywho, moving on. Daniel Rocker, Houston. If you were in J Pal's shoes, what you gonna do first 5 to 6 things? First thing I would do is not raise rates or lower rates. Because depending on if the tariffs get removed by the federal courts, will depend upon what actions you take later. Because remember, the market's going to spike like crazy, and a whole bunch of money is going to come flooding in. Right? Hundreds of billions of dollars are going to come flooding into companies that paid that stuff, to the investors who bought the rights to it. So there's going to be a lot of money flooding in, and so you don't want to like cut rates and flood it even more and cause more inflation that way. So you would probably just hold steady just in case. And my guess is, if they do return all the money for those tariffs and imports start to go up and people have more cash, you either hold steady some more or even raise interest rates like 10 basis points, 25 basis points, somewhere in there. You got to kind of keep it even keel. You're going to get yelled at a lot by Trump, but everything that's happening is Trump's doing at this point. So you really have to like figure out what he's going to do and how he's going to do it in order to like counter his punches, right? Bobbing and weaving. So that's probably what I'd be looking at. I don't know if there are 5 or 6 things because he's such a wild card. You don't know how he's going to fuck everything up. Because remember, he's going to go to war in Venezuela, which is going to cause oil prices to get all weird and go high again. And so we're going to be seeing inflation from that, from energy costs. It's really hard to gauge. It's like trying to predict an ADD kitten puppy. What are you doing? You're off the walls. I don't. You're destroying this thing over here. I told you no. Now you're destroying this thing over here. He cannot be tamed. Cannot be tamed. So I just don't know what to do with that at all. I don't think he even knows. J. Powell knows what to do. Polestar, thoughts on the Atlantic currents getting changed in Iceland, Northern Europe getting extreme cold? How quick would that happen? Probably pretty quick. We've talked about this in the past. Go back to Google Earth. Some days are just Google Earth shows, aren't they? So we talked about it. The Gulf of America warms up a lot. The Caribbean warms up a lot. All this hot water ends up flowing around Florida, the Gulf Stream. You can actually see the erosion from how fast this hot water flows out of the Gulf Stream. We had a jet crash off of Florida, about like 2016 or something, and then 7 months later, the jet washed up on shore in Ireland. Like pieces of the jet washed up on shore in Ireland. That's how fast this current can move stuff, even like on the bottom of the ocean, just chunk, move things along. So that's why ocean temperatures off the East Coast are way warmer than they are off the West Coast, because the West Coast, cold water comes down. So hot water goes across the Pacific. It goes up the coast of Japan. Oops, we're not facing north here. Goes up the coast of Japan, starts to cool off, gets into the Gulf of Alaska, is cold, and then this cold current comes down the Pacific coast. The Pacific Ocean is cold, basically until you get to Mexico. Southern California in the summertime, it might be 70 degrees, 75 degrees, but it really doesn't start getting warm until you get to Mexico. Because the rest of the year, it's like 55. It's cold. It's like 48 in the winter, 51 in the summer here in Puget Sound. It's just not warm. But along here, you go to South Carolina in the summertime, the water temperature is 90 plus degrees. You go up to Rhode Island, Cape Cod, water temperatures in the 80s in the summertime. So this really warm water being brought up from the Gulf up the coast and then heading over to Europe keeps this part of Europe much warmer than it should be. Like, you'll notice that Greenland is covered in ice, right? But Sweden, Finland, Norway are not covered in ice because the Gulf Stream comes through here, brushes Iceland, keeps Iceland fairly warm, and then keeps the North Atlantic fairly warm. The UK, look how far north the UK is, right? So we have like the Great White North of Canada, where it's 9 months of winter, 3 months of bugs, is on the same latitude as Ireland and the UK, right? So, in Northern Europe. So the warm waters bring in warm storms, which brings warm ambient temperatures in both the ocean and the air for much of the year. So even the winters, when the sun's gone for 6 months, are significantly warmer than they would be here in Canada or here in Russia. So what's happening with the current is Iceland is full of enough water that if it melted would raise ocean levels more than 20 feet. And all that water is fresh. And fresh water is less dense than salt water, so fresh water floats on top of salt water. And fresh water has a lower cooling temperature lower freezing temperature than salt water does. So all of this ice in Greenland is melting at incredible rates, something ridiculous, like 125 cubic kilometers a year is melting off of Greenland into the North Atlantic. And that fresh water sits on top of the salt water. So that warm salt water is now flowing under the freezing cold fresh water, right? Then that freezing cold fresh water freezes, so you get these like big ice shelves during the winter time because it freezes at pretty low temperatures, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. And so you get the big ice shelves, but they aren't very deep because the salt water underneath is really warm. and it blocks off the warm currents and the warm storm systems from hitting Iceland, the UK, Norway, and the rest of Northern Europe. So if the Gulf Stream and the Atlantic Amos current shuts down, basically you lose the warm storm systems heading this way, keeping it somewhat temperate. And conversely, down here in Antarctica, right, they talked about how the ice shelf was like the biggest it had ever been in years or something off of Antarctica. That's also because tons and tons of fresh water is melting off Antarctica, floating on top of the roaring 50s here, and it freezes really easily because it's fresh water. So it freezes at the temperature. So it freezes really quickly and it melts really quickly because it's really thin. And so they're like, oh, one time this ice shelf was huge, and then it's just gone once spring hits, and the permanent sea ice, which is salt water that's been frozen, is just not there anymore. So it's basically fresh water that keeps freezing and making big extended ice currents, ice flows, but then those disappear lickety split the minute the sun comes back up. So so the currents down here are fucking weird as a result, because all that fresh water is down here as well, and all that fresh water is up here in the North Atlantic, making things very weird. So my sister's work when she was doing graduate work in oceanography was on both this current shutting down and on the weirdness that happens when the trade winds stop blowing across Panama and Costa Rica, which no longer causes upwelling of colder water currents to form, and this stuff starts to get really stagnant and really warm, and it kills off all the fish. Like Galapagos is really weird. Galapagos are like at the equator, and the water's actually kind of cold. So because of the upwelling, that's the result of the winds blowing out of the Caribbean across Panama and Costa Rica, blowing the warm water away, allowing cold water to upwell. So the water here is actually relatively cold compared to, say, even just a few hundred miles north off of like Guatemala and Mexico. It's weird, but these winds basically shut down this year. This water is insanely hot and everything's dying as a result. So, yay, humanity. Woohoo! Way to go us. Changing everything, making it real cool. Okay. Just mammy, Trump will nail your shirt in the Oval Office wall for sure. Tropic 741, fuck Trump and cronies. Marcella Di Marcella Giordano. Marcella, I can't read your name. Marcella Giordano. There we go. Be careful, Houston. That shirt might have people trying to grab you by the... Arias Shadow. With 37 million FTDs due 17th and beyond on Reg Show, what are the odds that Beyond Meat will spike on Monday? Right now, I think most of the shorts have been done at like $7, and with the price being like $1 and change, I don't think there's too much forced buying going on at the moment. So, there has to be some other thing to happen, because right now the short interest is at like 14%, which is not enough to alarm anybody. And I think Skrelly and all those guys rug pulled everyone, and they're out, and they made their millions, and they're deucing. Polestar, seems we're so close to Epstein full release. Something will happen to stop it. Wonder what disaster that will be. War? Finally the stock market crashes? Venezuela. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Venezuela. Michael Jotuo, just realized I'm only a year older than Pulte. Why does rich people look so shitty? I'm, 7 years older than Pulte? 8 years older than Pulte? I mean, other than the skin horns, I look pretty good for being in my mid-40s. I don't know what it is with these dudes. Like, you're worth a cajillion dollars. You can live the life of luxury. You can be pampered. You can go to the gym and have hot ladies, teach you how to do squats all day, and you can sit by pools and have a private chef cook you healthy meals, and you can get sleep as long as you want. And I don't understand. I mean, Peter Thiel, he's 58, but he looks like he bathes in bacon grease. He looks like canola oil is his best friend in the entire world. He looks as slippery as an eel. He is. You could probably scrape his face and have larger oil reserves than OPEC countries. It's I don't get it, man. Being evil, I think, ages you. That's the thing. I think if you're evil, it takes something out of you, and you look as evil as you are. It's not like 50 years ago when everybody was in smoke-filled rooms constantly. I mean, you look at guys like Gaylord Perry. Gaylord Perry was like 36 years old, looked like a grandpa back in his playing days. You don't get that anymore because people aren't in rooms filled with smoke, so you don't have that excuse. So why are these dudes so evil looking? Why is Carolyn Levitt, who's like 26 years old, look like she's pushing 50? Right, monkey? You just put your nose on my hand like a little dog, right, monkey? Why? It's weird. It's really weird. Evil ages you, dude. It ages you. Good read. Michael Burry is shutting down Scion Asset Management. Yep. Polestar. Oh, shoot, Polestar. You just vanished here. Where'd you go? Oh, I missed a super chat. Corporate Walnut. All we need is carbon capture. Why is it so hard? You just plant some trees, man. Plant some cheese. You make sure that the right kind of algae and phytoplankton grow in the ocean, and you're done. That's it. You also just stop producing carbon. China has actually reduced their carbon emissions for the last 18 months. So China's carbon emissions are going down, while we're building a whole bunch of giant AI plants and plan to have just countless coal and gas fire plants spool up to power people's abilities to have. Oh my God, it's like reading the dumbest shit about having an AI agent who reads your emails for you, studies the emails, figures out how to respond, and responds back to those emails without you ever having to read it. Right? So then why do you exist? Like, gathering information is what our brains like to do. So why are we making it so that our AI email is going to message another person's email whose AI reads it, then messages your email back with a response? It's just two Furbies talking in the dark. That's all it is. You have nothing to do with any of this. So why are we speed running the collapse of the human brain and society and economy so that we can destroy the environment in even faster fashion? It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. We are the stupidest, dumbest, stupid people in the stupid, dumb universe. Like, let's go back to pen and paper, dude. I'm borderline Luddite now because we're too stupid to have this technology. Like, never in sci-fi did we even predict what AI was going to be used for. It's always like, this is my own personal AI, and some robot who's like, how may I help you, sir? Yes, I'll wash your clothes and scrub your butt, right? And then it goes, I'm going to be evil and murder all humans. That's basically where we went. We never figured that, like, AI would be constantly getting used to fake John Ossoff videos in Georgia by his political opponent. Or that AI videos would be rotting the brains of boomers on Facebook. Like, the number of boomers I know on Facebook who constantly post some AI stupid slop where it's like, this farmer found a deer whose leg was hurt, and he decided he was going to help that deer, and then he made sure the deer's leg was fixed, and then he let the deer off in the wild, and now the deer brings him $1,000 a month as thank you. Like, this fucking AI bullshit that's so garbage, and we're just rotting our minds with it in a way that, like, it makes me sound like an angry old man or something. But the thing is, it's not the kids, it's the old people who are like, the kids do dumb shit. They're all kind of morons too, because, you know, COVID era / AI. But like, the old people are so fooled by it so easily. Like, a few years ago, there'd be all these crazy footage from Grand Theft Auto 5. Like a car flying through the air and crashing a bunch of other cars and people screaming and car catching on fire. And it was so fake. So fake. And all these boomers are like, I hope that man got arrested. Because they don't know. They just don't know. They don't know how any of it works. And now it's going to be like, I don't want to talk to my grandma. I'm just going to have an AI bot pretend like it's talking to her. And it's me the entire time. So the AI bot's going to be like, Grandma, send nudes or whatever. Just like, Timmy! And life will be over as we know it. So. Anyway. Polestar. Maybe the Dems reopened the government because they knew all this was coming to light. That's my hopium. But they're probably just GOP guys. I think it's more Pam Bondi didn't realize that if you shut down an investigation, it releases all the information that was being held from Freedom of Information after Quest because there was an ongoing investigation. So, it all gets released. Yeah. Polestar, see a new South Park? I'll be watching the new South Park tonight. Woman in the Hat was very ominous. Oh, the one from last week, yes. The most recent one is really leaning into JD wanting to take the presidency using Teal. JD has been missing for almost 2 days now off of Twitter. He never takes breaks like that. The last time he took a break that was several days long, it was revealed that he was having a secret meeting with the Murdochs at their ranch in Dillon, Montana. And this was right before the Murdochs released all the Trump-related birthday book stuff with Epstein through the Wall Street Journal. So my guess is that the Murdochs are probably meeting with J.D. Vance again about, hey, man, you're about to become president. Trump, you got 25th Amendment him, or he's getting impeached, or he's going to resign. So get ready. That's my guess. And Polestar, piece that guy who did $100K and $25 options ending this week, or was it next week? Ugh. Pulls that shirt looks like the White House. Yes, I am the new Oval Office. $100,000 and $25 options this week. Ouch. I don't understand spending that much money on options when the volatility is not yet there, right? Like if we have a week where swaps are doing weird stuff and it looks like we're gonna get some gamma from Monday, I will spend a couple of grand on options for the following week. I'll do weeklies at that point. I'm not gonna spend $100,000 on it. If we get that gamma on that Monday and things start to go wild, I will reset and play again. I will play puts for when everyone sells off on Monday. I'll try to win off that, and I'll go back into calls again because there's still gamma for Tuesday. And you can write it up and down, but just being like, I'm gonna spend $100,000 on $25 options for this week. On what? If I had $100,000 right now, I would be in a truck and I'd be driving through the desert with a metal detector looking for gold because that's fun. I'm a nerd. Not off surprised with the drop in the market after the government gets reopened. Well, the government isn't reopened yet. Just the Senate has voted to reopen. The House has done nothing. Just Mammy, Megyn Kelly is a piece of shit. She has a 14-year-old daughter, for fuck's sake. Oh yeah, Megyn Kelly was on TV today, basically doing the whole, well, Epstein wasn't a pedophile, he was actually an ebophile, and trafficking 15-year-old girls is morally okay. She's a sociopath. Straight up. GDC. Looks like UCLA football is moving out of the Rose Bowl home games in SoFi Stadium. Rose Bowl is just too big and too hard to get to from campus. Why can't we have nice things in America? Yeah, the Rose Bowl is Pasadena, right? Is where the Rose Bowl is? So UCLA is here? Or is it USC? It's here. I can't remember which one. UCLA. Yeah, okay. UCLA there, and that's Labor Center. So UCLA is out here, but the Rose Bowl is Pasadena. That's the racetrack. That's Covina, Azusa, Arcata. I haven't been in this area so long. Rose Bowl. Oh, further north, Altadena. There we go. So yeah, Rose Bowl's up here. So you got to go from basically Westwood, across LA, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, across I-5 into, what is that, Glendale, and then across to another mountain range to the Rose Bowl. So yeah, it's far away. So I totally understand it. I guess, Caltech in their 7-person football team, Division 2 football team, play their games there or something. I don't know. You guys can't see what I'm doing because I forgot to. All right, I forgot to put it on the map. All right, UCLA is here, and Rose Bowl is there. That's it's only like 20 miles. How many miles is it from? Get out of my way. From here to there, 16 miles. That's like 2 hours in LA traffic. So unless you're helicoptering your entire football team to the Rose Bowl, I guess there's no point in going there. So I don't know who's going to use the Rose Bowl at this point anymore. Yeah. So that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me. SoFi is down here in downtown Los Angeles, right? Somewhere around there. That's closer. I'd probably shaved an hour off of driving to get there. So why not? Why not? Tropic, Houston, Washington State history segment. Oh boy. Well, back to the maps. Because we can talk a little Washington State history. Tropic might be moving here. So I told him to remind me of Washington history. So Washington State history is, dating back to native times. We had many tribes. We had the coastal Salish tribes, which basically Vancouver Island down through Puget Sound. They spoke a fairly common language now known as the Salish language. We had mountain tribes up in Okanagan, out here in sort of what are like, I won't say the plains. It's known as the Columbia Plateau. Old flood basalts in here. When a lot of the coastal ones, coastal tribes like the Makah were dependent on whaling. Others were more fishing heavy, salmon, cod, things like that. The first folks to make their way out here, likely the Spanish. So we have the Straits of Juan de Fuca, which is the straits between Vancouver Island and Washington's Olympic Peninsula. Juan de Fuca had thought he had discovered the Northwest Passage because everyone was looking for a way to get basically from the Pacific to the Atlantic without having to go around South America, because that's a pain in the ass and dangerous. So looking for the Northwest Passage. So he thought he had discovered the Northwest Passage, so he named it after himself, of course. And it turns out he just went a couple hundred miles inland and then all of a sudden was trapped. The real Northwest Passage is just this. You either have to go around South America or above Canada, and that's it. So Juan de Fuca made it in here. Bunch of fur trappers made their way out here. So a bunch of like French dudes, and they're trapping beavers and bears and shit. They made it through. A lot of them commingled with a lot of the native tribes and interbred with them. The Brits were the next to come with Vancouver's expedition. So Vancouver came in and they named a whole bunch of places here. So like, you got Hood Canal. It's actually supposed to be Hood Channel, which still isn't a channel. It's a fjord. They thought it went all the way through, and it didn't. It actually stops there, and there's like a mile and a half between the rest of Puget Sound, which would make Kitsap Peninsula an island, actually, but it's a peninsula. So they misspelled channel when they thought it was a canal, but it was neither. It's a fjord. Agate Pass here on Bainbridge. This is Agate Pass. It was actually named after a lieutenant named Agate, and not because there's actually agates found there, even though you do find agates there. Blake Island named after someone in the expedition. Mount Rainier was named after someone from the expedition. A lot of things got named by Westerners that way, even though they already had names that were native. But just that's how Europeans operate. They're like, I don't like that. I'm naming it after my friend. Bainbridge Island itself was named after Commodore Bainbridge. Commodore Bainbridge made his name in 2 fights. One was in the Pirate Wars in Tripoli, kicking some pirate ass out there in North Africa. And then again, during the War of 1812, he kicked some ass against a bunch of Brits. And so he became a hero, and they named Bainbridge Island after him. So Washington itself, in American history, was part of the Oregon Territory. So this whole area was where everyone was coming from Oregon Trail into here. The Washington Territory itself was fairly sparsely populated, while like the Willamette Valley got heavily populated with farmers because everyone's coming in for farmers. And then gold was discovered in Southern California, in Sutter's Mill in Central California, and then gold went to Southern California. And so gold miners started spreading all over the place. They found a bunch of gold country, Oregon. They found a bunch of gold up through the Cascades. They started finding gold in Okanagan in northeastern Washington. And by about 1890s is when Seattle really took off with the discovery of gold up here in the Yukon. So everyone started going to the Yukon, and Seattle was the port everyone left out of to get to the Yukon. So you had the Colville Indian Reservation Gold Rush, you had the Fraser River Gold Rush, you had the Liberty Gold Rush, and then you had Yukon, which everyone's like, I'm going to the Yukon. The thing of the Yukon is that the Yukon didn't have that much gold. 12 million ounces of gold has been found since the establishment of the Yukon Gold Rush. California did 150 million ounces of gold. There are single mines in Nevada that have done 50 million ounces of gold. The Porcupine Gold Rush in Timmins, there are single mines that have done double what the Yukon Gold Rush has come up with. The people who made their money off of the Yukon Gold Rush were the folks who sold the shovels and the camping equipment to those guys. Folks like Eddie Bauer, REI Sports Equipment started out of that. So you had lots of folks that made their money that way. Seattle itself was a dirty, shitty city. It was made on mud flats. They basically hosed down the hillsides and pushed all that soil into the sound to cover up the mud flats, and then built on top of that. So much of what is Seattle is fill. So the oldest part of Seattle is Pioneer Square neighborhood, which is the original Skid Row. It was called Skid Row. At the bottom of Yesler, which is this guy. Is Yesler? This guy. There we go. Yeah. Bottom here was the Yesler Mill, and so the log skids came down and from the hills, and they would ship the logs down and go to the mill here, and that was basically where all the homeless people lived. Through probably the 19 teens, this was one of the most dangerous areas possibly on Earth. So if you basically head south of what is now downtown Seattle into this old neighborhood here, it burned down in 1889, which is the year Washington became a state. Great Seattle Fire, so a lot of building codes got changed and everything like that. But this area was so overrun with gangs and violence and criminality that there was a 20-year period that every single police officer that was sent from the head precinct into Pioneer Square, what is the Skid Row neighborhood, never came out. So, like, you will die. If you go back in like to 1894 and you were just a doe-eyed new person to Seattle and you went into this area, you were dead. That was it. It was brothels, it was gambling houses, it was dens of iniquity, it was crime, it was ruthless. So women's suffrage happens in 1921, I believe. Seattle elects its first woman mayor, and she fixed the city. She crime reduced incredibly. The neighborhoods became much safer. The police finally made it into Pioneer Square and cleaned up all the gambling houses and the brothels and everything else, and fixed everything there. And Seattle was basically, once the gold rush fever ended, it was basically fishing and logging. And then Boeing started in 1916. Boeing Field is down south here. Train depot. There's Boeing Field. So Boeing Field's here. You can go. Original Boeing construction plant for planes, I think, was in this area. They moved it since to where the Museum of Flight is, which is this big ass building. And this is Museum of Flight. They moved it here. So Boeing started here. So then Seattle became very dependent upon building planes, and basically it was military and planes after that. And in the 1970s. Supersonic program was employing a bunch of people, and then Boeing just canceled the program because it just wasn't economic for airlines to fly supersonic planes. They were too expensive and too loud, and no one wanted to do them. So hundreds of thousands of people got laid off from Boeing, and the Seattle population dropped by about 25% between the early 70s and the mid 80s. That's when Seattle started to change course. It started to become a banking hub and a tech hub. So Microsoft starts up, Nintendo makes its headquarters out here in Redmond, where Microsoft also is. And you get the tech boom of the 90s. So you have a bunch of darlings of the startup, Amazon, Real Networks, MyCaddy.com, Rivals.com, who I worked for, prescriptions.com, pharmacy.com, I can't remember all of them, Monkey. They've all just since then. So it became a giant tech hub. Amazon takes off. What was Southeast Union neighborhood, which was a really shitty neighborhood for a long time, just warehouses and like muffler and tire shops. This whole area becomes the headquarters for Amazon. So Amazon is based here in the Denny Triangle in South Lake Union. Cat, you're in my way. Go over here. Tech takes off, and now the problem is that everyone moves here for the tech, and then once they get big and buff and handsome, they go, you know what? I don't want to be in Seattle anymore. Fuck you. I'm going to be an anti-tax weirdo. And then they move off, and they start taking people out of here, and then I don't know what Seattle will do next. But this neighborhood got totally built up. Let's see if we can find the old timeline. Where's my time? There we go. Let's do the timeline. So when I was in high school, which was in the 1990s, we're in 1985 right here. So that's not particularly good. I don't want the 3D stuff. Just give me, there we go. So you can see like there's one tower here, there's two towers there, there's three towers right there. Now if we go to today, we have basically tower. There is a lot of them that have been built in this area. Most of there's the spheres here. Jeff Bezos' big old balls. A lot of the stuff has all been built since then. Guitar Center used to be right there. That got torn down, and they put a Bezos thing in here. Yeah, bummer. Back in the 90s, all this land, South Lake Union, 100 acres, whatever, has got bought up by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. And Paul Allen wanted to give it to the city of Seattle. He's like, hey, Seattle, I will give you this land if you promise to turn it into a huge park like Central Park. And the city's like, oh, put it to the vote. And so it turns out to turn it into a park is going to cost $60 million. But it'd be a giant, huge, beautiful park for everyone in Seattle, from Lake Union to downtown, just a big, beautiful green area. And people in Seattle are like, I don't want to spend $60 million on that. No. So Paul Allen went, all right, fuck you. And basically did all the construction here for Amazon to get built up, and then leased all the property to Amazon for the headquarters. People were like, why is Paul Allen doing all this building? And I was like, buddy, you had a chance to turn it a park, and you basically told him to fuck off. And so he's making money off of it. And then Paul Allen died, and his sister took over. She owns most of this land, and she also owns the Seahawks football team here, and the Portland Trailblazers. So yeah, we got that. Paul Allen's wife buys homes on Bainbridge and then fixes them up. So she's like a little Filipino lady, and she likes to, I think she's Filipino. She likes to just buy a house, and then she has her friends come in, and they do like their own little home and garden television and make it how they like it, and then they sell it, and then they find another one. So she comes to the island and does that a lot. So there's rough cut. This whole section of Idaho was part of Washington that was carved out of the Oregon-Washington territory. There was a major gold rush going on here at the time. And there was so much violence and awfulness that Washington was like, we don't want it. And they just drew their border right there so that the assholes will be on that side. And to this day, that seems to be where the assholes are, because that's where all the white supremacist dudes are, by like Coeur d'Alene and Aryan Nation, all those guys. So there's your brief Washington history. And oh crap, I gotta get going. I'm sure there's more. I'm missing super chats. There's one from Dig Dug Doink for the love of spam. That's $4.99. Kitty, where'd my pencil go? $4.99. 4. Okay. Once I get this thing into whatchamajigger. GDC, I used an AI to make a pic of Ryan Cohn wearing a diaper and crying while Ken Griffin pointed at him and laughed. There you go. All right. I got to get going. I'll see you guys tomorrow for a show. And you folks have a great day. Bam. Kitty, quit getting in my way, man. You're always in my way. Constant. Okay. No, stop it. Stop going. Don't step on the keyboard. Oh my gosh.